And we're on. What'd you hear, James?
I heard some noise from fingers colliding together in regard to cleaning some orifices in the body.
You just made it way too complicated. I think what you're trying to say is you heard a booger get inflicted. And guess what? You guys,
so crude.
The listeners, would have never known. That's the beauty of what we're talking about right now. Right before we hit record.
Well, they would have known if you pressed record while we were talking about it.
That's very true. And I did, because we were laughing and we forgot about we released all our worries all of a sudden when I said I could pick my nose, flick a booger while I'm talking to y'all, pouring into y'all, reflecting with y'all, and you would never know it because we're just doing audio record, and there's a lot of freedom. There's a lot of release that comes with us choosing to record this mini-series podcast, AYPN
ReActivated, because who would know that you've been picking boogers? The janitor in his library.
I know, that would be so rude. That would be so rude.
They won't be here cleaning the desk.
I wouldn't really do that, just for the record. But I'm just saying I could if I wanted to. Could if I wanted to. And it would not change my message at all, because like I said, listeners would never know. Well, I'm Izzy, or Isabel Black. Izzy the Intentional Healer.
And I'm James Love Griffin. I'm still trying to figure out what lands better in my own universe. James Love, James Griffin, James Love Griffin, James Trey Griffin. Who cares?
Do you want some
call
feedback?
Me James.
Do you want some feedback? Do you want some votes? Hey, do you guys want to vote what James?
If you're listening and you feel called, just post it in the comments, or let me know when you see me in person.
Yeah,
doesn't matter to me. I'm actually in a state where I'm releasing some deep boogers, right, in my life, right? Been doing some deep digging. It's that type of digging when, like you said, you don't care who's looking. You're just in there because you got a mission and you got to go. You trying to get something out.
All that mucus wreaks a lot of havoc if it doesn't come out of our body. So yes, I'm happy to hear that, and I'm happy to hear that you are in the spirit of release, because that is right in alignment with today's episode with, again, AYPN Reconnect, ReActivated. And what our goal is with this podcast is to reflect back on other AYPN events and just reflect on the messages that were given, and allow for things to come up within us,
right?
Reminders of what we were feeling and what we were carrying and what we were breaking through during those times, and how our consistency and our willingness and our choosing to continue to show up, what that's transformed into today and moving forward as we're preparing for 2026. So what a great, we are in the spirit of the season of release.
Yes. And I love that you're really bringing this up, and you brought this idea to the table of creating this little mini podcast series where we can go back into our past and kind of see it from a different angle, because we have grown. Everybody that spoke on this stage from this episode that we're going to share today, they've grown so much since 2023 November. We've grown so much since 2023 November. How much have you grown since 2023 November? And what are you right now currently releasing?
Okay, you put a challenge out there. How have you grown?
That's the challenge.
Since November 2023, because that's the date of the recording we're going to reflect on today. And the topic was the power of release. So if we're asking the audience, how have you grown since then? Real quickly, I think it's a good idea that each one of us shares something that we have grown in since
Mm-hmm.
then.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. There's been a lot of things that I've grown in my life in the last 2 years, even as a just a speaker in general, just from that angle, and not from doing more talks. More talks came, but more from just letting go,
Exactly.
simplifying just my why, simplifying the how, the what, the where, all of those little details, just getting clear through experiences that mirror back to me exactly who I am, what my powers are, and how can I really change and cause a deeper level of impact, not only in my life, but most importantly in the community that I
Right.
reside in the world that I live in.
Right.
So the biggest change has been that I have become a lot more grounded and centered in my why, and also at the same time taking tangible actions, consistent tangible actions over the last 2 years that reflect that.
Right.
So that's at a high level, and we can go deeper into how that change has manifested in my life as we break down. I want you to sit there and just really think about how far you have come in the last 2 years, and just put to the side where you want to be at right now. And let's just take a moment of time and just rest in this bubble and say, man, in the last couple of years, I have really overcome a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
these lessons have taught me a lot.
Yes.
And through these lessons, I have dug deep and excavated, right, bringing up jewels
Mm-hmm.
that are bringing me blessings in my life right now.
Right.
And just like going back, we had to release and flick those obstacles that block the path of clear living,
Mm-hmm.
right? A clear intention, right? It's just a clear understanding. So as you think, I'm gonna pass the buck to Isabel, Izzy, and she's gonna tell us about something she's been releasing.
Just thinking of, I'm thinking from November 2023 to present day. I would have to say the biggest thing I've grown in that amount in between that time was leadership. I've been told my whole life that I'm a leader, but I never wanted to own that because I always I interpreted that as I will be carrying people and then I'll be the one to get blamed when it doesn't work out for them.
Mm.
Um, so I was never interested in leadership, and even at jobs, they always offered me promotions, and I always would decline respectfully because I wasn't interested again in caring or making sure other people were going to be accountable, were going
Mm-hmm.
to, and stuff. So I knew I was just in control of myself to do be the things that I thought were important to be, how to show up.
Mm-hmm.
And I came into AYPN with the same attitude. I was a freer person. I was a person who was practicing existing amongst other people who have different beliefs, who have different practices, who have different experiences, who were all shooting for the same thing in life, and that was peace and purpose. So I was learning to make space for other people and have patience in that way. But even there, I kept hearing the word leader, that I was a
Mm-hmm.
leader, I was a leader. And even
Yeah.
you, James, kept mirroring that to me. And I didn't want it. I just wanted to come show up and be used for what God was telling me to be used, which, like you said at that time, it was activating our voice, exactly what our topic is this Saturday with our speaker series. Uh, so once I got through that activation, then God had to again reveal the next layer. So as it got deeper and deeper, the path was always leadership. The path was always leadership. And now I feel strengthened, and I feel supported, and I feel in alignment with stepping in leadership shoes. So I just thank everybody, you especially, James, as my coach, as my heart center coach, teaching me how to be present and grounded. And to all the other people who have poured in, and the people we're going to spotlight today, you know, every message that everybody came and brought through this organization, through this community, has affected me in helping me to get closer to becoming that leader that I've always been called, that I was created to be. So that's where I'm at. And we have many stories like yours and mine within the community. So let's go ahead and let's get started, because who we're starting with today, again, it was November 2023, and you can catch the full episode on our YouTube, Activate Your Power Now. But it's the AYPN 12 Powers series, and the topic is the power of release. And the first person the first speaker at this event was Heather Davis. We've known her as the motivational mentor, and I know she's shifted that a little bit. I know she's come full circle with it again, but that's who you're seeing, who you're going to be hearing right now on this reflection is the motivational mentor. So let's go ahead, and we got to find the time, 10:40-ish. Is that what you got? Oh, where do you even see the time? Do you do that?
Well, we're going to start at the beginning of a story that she was explaining as she was going through the process of releasing what no longer served her. I'm going to go down to 8.
Here's the time. I see it now.
The motivational mentor. She has come a long way in regards to just how she shows up in anything that she does, particularly speaking, just watching the last few episodes from 2022 and 2023 and seeing her now and seeing the level of confidence and support that she has been
And
receiving and giving in her message, right? How that's been growing and expanding and getting deeper. It's a blessing to be able to witness that. So, but here's a piece of her talk.
Everywhere all the time. And then we decided we were going to date. So that was July 4th. And everything was really good. Adventure after adventure. Every weekend we were somewhere new, doing something different. I was living a life that I never dreamed of. And I thought, maybe this is it. Maybe this is why the other thing didn't work out. Because we're always trying to come up with reasons, right? That didn't work because this is where I'm meant to be. So here we are. Everything is going well. We're 4 months, been hanging out for a little over 6 months. And then all of a sudden, within a week, I lost my job. I lost my sister, who was my rock, my lighthouse, the beacon that always brought me back home when I was lost. I lost my car, and 2 weeks later, I lost my man. Because the thing was, when my life fell apart, it was too much for him. And the reason I now know, the reason my life fell apart is because I put everything else in front of what I was supposed to be doing. This. I was called to be a speaker. I was called to be a child of God. I hadn't been in church in weeks, months, almost a year. I kept saying it was really important to me, but when I would meet people that it wasn't important to them, it suddenly was no longer important to me. So what happened was I found myself jobless, sisterless, carless, and about to be homeless because my lease was about to be up and I had no job. Can't renew a lease without a job. Y'all, I was at rock bottom. The good thing about rock bottom is there's only one way to go. So for 2 months now, I've been at rock bottom. But the thing is, I'm not staying there. Now, why do I tell you all these sad stories? It's not for sympathy, and I'm definitely not a victim. Here's the thing. Life never goes the way we plan. I can tell you from 5th grade until now, nothing has gone the way I planned. I did have 2 kids. Neither one of them have blonde hair. One has blue eyes. But neither one of them played baseball or any of the things I ever thought they would do. I thought she was going to be a dancer. She was a volleyball star. So my point is, even at 24, she has already figured out life doesn't go the way you plan it. So here's the thing. Why do I tell you about all of these rock bottom stories? Because what you find at rock bottom is the power of release. A lot of people have already said I would have checked out by now. I don't know how you're still here. I don't know how you're not curled up in a ball somewhere. The reason I'm not is because I released it and I gave it to God. 2 months later, I have a place to live. I haven't been homeless one day. I have yet to starve, as you can tell. I do not have a car, but I'm working on it, and I now have a job that I've dreamed of for more than 2 years. Thank you, Brent.
Now, what did she say? She said, what you find at rock bottom is the power of release. What Heather just talked through was a few situations that really brought her into a space where she was, in a way, forced to strip away what no longer was at the time working in her life, because it wasn't working. So it needed to find a way out. How many of y'all have been in situations where you found yourself hitting your head against the wall, trying to figure out how to do something, and it just didn't seem to work. Things just didn't seem to come together, and you just didn't have no answer, and you found yourself in situations that were out of your control, but put you in situations long term, now that you're looking back and saying, oh, I needed to be there in order to be where I'm at right now.
Exactly.
Have you ever experienced that, Izzy?
Absolutely, more than once in my life. And I feel like a big part of the message, and again, go back and listen to the full recording, listen to her whole session. But consistency a lot of times is just what prevents us from continuing to find ourselves feeling like we're at rock bottom over and over. And it's like the same story playing itself, but different names and different faces. And what we've learned in our process, right, as we've intentionally put it together and now we share it with other people, is that it's that consistent practice. It's important to set up your power path process, your daily practice, to stay in alignment with who you say you want to be and what you say you want to do in life. And she mentioned, in her session that her daily practice would change depending on the relationship she was in and what theirs was. She would adjust to what theirs was. And so it's just important because when you put a practice together, when you build your power path process, which is just the plan, the daily practice, the daily intention to achieve the goals that you set as well for yourself, it's that consistent practice every single day. There's never a time for a break, because that's what's going to build the muscle memory. Because there's a lot of people who are part of our movement and who will be listening to this podcast who are going to resonate with, life just keeps happening to me. No matter how hard I try, no matter how much I give, life keeps challenging me and trying to knock me down, take me out. So, for me and for many others that I've seen just truly grow to turn their pains into their power, it's been that consistent practice. They create a muscle memory so that when life falls apart or travesty or tragedy happens, muscle memory gets to kick in and carry you for a little bit, along with your community, the people you surround yourself with.
You kept saying practice. That kind of reminded me of the whole thing with AI, when he had the situation. They were talking to him after the game, talking about practice. Are we talking about practice right now? He was all about just playing in the game.
Right.
But they were trying to say, like, look, you got to be in the gym all the time, putting in your reps. In his mind, he's like, I already put in the 10,000 hours. I'm good. I'm just going to show up and show out.
Right.
But like when it comes to releasing, from my understanding and from my own personal practice, realizing in order to, it was mentioned through other speakers, there's a release where you have no control and things are just happening to you and you're a victim of life, or you can have a controlled release, or in other words, a controlled demolition,
Right.
where you're consciously engaged in the process of recognizing the patterns, recognizing the habits, just and then also going through the process of letting it go. And how does that look in your life? Right? What type of structure or structures are you building within your own personal life, emotionally, mentally, physically, that allows a deeper release to happen?
Mm-hmm.
So you have a strong structure that allows what's happening inside to feel free enough to feel,
Right.
right? To be present with whatever is coming up. And then from there, now you can make logical decisions that's clear, coming from a place of intuitive clarity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's through the process of releasing. So is I know later on there's another speakers that talks about releasing and letting it go, and how it's so cliche, and people say just let it go, but people don't know how to let it go. We just hold on to things, and it's unconscious and it's instinctual and it's survival patterns. That's why, as you mentioned, it's having to practice being so important, because that's just knocking on the door and slowly unwinding over time. And whatever is bound in your body, whatever is bound in your life, you're giving it time to allow it to untwist, separate, dissolve, and integrate back into where it came from.
Right. Right. And to bridge that, before we go into our next speaker, we had, I had noted with Reverend Randy, who was emceeing this particular event. He spoke of the practice of joyfully letting go. So we're talking a lot about release, letting go. And it's not always about, if you let go bitterly, then it's just one part of the release process. You haven't fully released. So of course, he made a great message with that. And he also made a powerful statement that I wrote down, that was, if things aren't adding up, maybe it's time to start subtracting. And someone had shared that with him in life at one point, and he shares that. That was big, because I took myself back to that time, 2023, and what I was releasing during that time and stuff was a lot of stuff I was carrying from 2020. And that statement was what literally helped me separate myself from what was keeping me from that next step growth that God was using me for. I had to start subtracting things out of my life or people. But what I learned was, how to honor, to hold that space for every relationship to come full circle. Every relationship. And while I'm sharing about that real quick, I want to say this, because a special moment actually happened this past weekend. We had a wedding, our nephew, and it was my nephew's mom. We don't have a great relationship. Matter of fact, some of the family that went, including myself, we had used the excuse that we don't get along and don't like each other to keep each other from celebrating each other's children's things, or inviting each other to each other's events or stuff, or celebrating holidays together. And it was just beautiful, because we all chose to go and celebrate my nephew, and we got to reconciliate those relationships. And now we're speaking of, what can we get together next? It was really nice having all the family together like that again, and everything. So, I just thought, as I was experiencing it and afterwards, I thought, wow, how powerful that was. You know, it was all the work leading up to today or to that last weekend that allowed the space, the things I was able to release to make space for whenever this reconciliation would happen, because I knew that it had to happen. I just didn't know how it would. So again, that just speaks to staying consistent, staying true to your path, to your walk. Even if it's not clear now, clarity comes later.
I love that. I love that. Staying true to your path and making space for clarity to land. even when things may not be clear right now in your life, and you're wondering if you need some water in order.
I already drank some water.
Say, look, are you okay? We gotta take.
That's the right question. I'm not okay.
She's releasing something right now. She's coughing,
choking,
because
I was talking too much.
Teary eye right now. I think it's that orange.
No,
are you allergic to citrus?
I'm not. I was thinking this orange was going to save me, so I'm about to eat it. But I'll let you bridge us into our next speaker.
Yeah, I mean, our next speaker. We're gonna go to Julie, which is the next speaker we have marked off. Kenya was the actual next speaker after Heather, and she had a powerful talk where she was talking about releasing the idea of resisting being her mom.
Fears.
The fears around that and how that affected her relationship with her partner and how they grew through just a simple observation and coming together at a common ground and saying, oh, there was a time where we had these expectations in our mind, and now that we're together, we have an opportunity to highlight where we may have miscommunicated. Mm-hmm. Now we have clear communication. But that required each person to question their own expectations and assumptions they had around relationships and who they were going to be and how they were going to show up in that. So I really appreciate Kenya and her message that she shared during that time. And again, if you want to go listen to the full message, the full talk, visit our YouTube channel, Activate Your Power Now, aka AYPN. So we are going to flow and continue to jump into the next speaker, which is Heather. No, not Heather Davis. That's the current speaker. I'm looking at the screen right now. It's Julie.
Yes.
Julie is a delight, and she has been a consistent activator on stage, bridging her energy of joy, spontaneity, and just an openness that she is willing to see you as you are and allow you to be the person you need to be without any mask. So let's bring up Julie back to the AYPN ReActivated platform.
And it could be, she thought she deserved it because she was being so awful, but I would never have done that. And so for the first time, I completely walked away and was fine with it. A year later, I walked away from another close relationship, and we still see each other in social circles sometimes, and I keep it at a distance. Pro tip: if you're seeing a counselor and you have a friendship that comes up in counseling as often as work, family, and your love life, that is not a good friendship. But I thought that I had to be a good friend and keep these connections. And then came with that when I had been distancing. Probably the beginning of that end was there was a guy that had seen me at an open mic and had been talking to her about me because I didn't make it back for a while because I'm really busy. And she said she might have overshared. So when I finally did get to talk to him a few months later, I said, so what was overshared? He said, well, she like told me you've got a lot of men in your life. Oh, well, that's a good friend. And just for your information, I have a lot of male friends, and I was dating but not involved with anybody at that time. So it's like, that was kind of weird. But I stopped sharing as much about some things. And one day she was having a rough day, and she started sending me lots of texts, and I was working, so I didn't see them. And she said, is the reason you haven't told me the name of who you're going out with because it's this guy that she had a crush on. Like, okay, if you think I would do that to you after 20 years of friendship, I don't have anything to say to that either. I'm like, no, and I'm done. And I don't have to hold on to people anymore. I can't control what other people say about me. I can't control what they think about me. But I don't have to show up for it. I don't have to go out of my way for it. I don't have to be grateful for attachments that are not good for me.
Yeah. 2 snaps and a twist. Tell him, Julie.
Mm.
A lot of times as we have different speakers coming up and sharing on one topic, I love how we get so many different angles and dynamics to what we're all out there experiencing. We don't have a lot of speakers come up and share on the friendship boundaries. We set our foot down with our romantic partner. We set our foot down with our kids. We will sure set our foot down with our bosses and our coworkers. But how many of us have friends that, like she said, are causing us more hours and minutes of grief and stress and questioning than what they're doing, bringing us any opportunity for peace or celebration? Just what she said.
Yes, you said, I don't have to hold on to people anymore. You don't have to hold on to people if you feel like your relationship with them is past the point where you feel like you can help them.
Right. And it's not even about always helping, because for me, I see friendship or any relationship as something reciprocal, a give take. Anything that I encounter in life, I'm going to use it and experience it as a give take. So when you find yourself in those friendships and you really, sometimes we carry each other in relationships. That's balanced. That's sometimes you hold me accountable. Sometimes you are my strength. Sometimes, with Dave, in any relationship or partnership, yeah, there's some parts of carrying each other, but patterns will show up. And like she said, if your friend's coming up in therapy and stuff, there's probably something to look at there. And then on the flip side of that, it's about letting go joyfully. So it's not about blaming. It's not about making sure they know why they ruined this relationship. It's not about any of that. It's about setting those boundaries Julia mentioned, but then practicing the joyfully letting go. So what does joyfully letting go look like? And as an intentional healer, what that looks like means I'm going to wish them well intentionally in my prayers. Just because they no longer fit in this area of my life does not mean that I don't want good things for them, that I don't want them to find that peace in their life. And hold them in that space. So anytime an ill thought comes forward, be aware. Oh, remember, if it's not building, it's destroying. Let me shift that thought, because I'm a builder. I'm not a destroyer in life. That's intentional living. But yeah, let go. Be willing to let go. Be willing to release, but do it peacefully. Do it joyfully.
I love that, Izzy. That's the theme of or challenge of letting go and releasing. And maybe it's something that you have heard before, where you've been in circles where they told you, let it go, forgive, move on, things of that nature. And from my own personal experience, it may not even happen in the beginning at all, right? You may still harbor resentment and bitterness, but what they're talking about right now, what we're talking about right now, is actually when you hit that moment and you realize, oh, I don't feel the same anymore, right? That emotional charge that was once there, that made your stomach tighten and your chest constrict, jaw, get tighter as well. You're like, okay, that's loosening. That reaction is not as palpable as it was before. And that's when the joy creeps in.
Right.
And you're like, wow. Now you can return and recenter your energy towards people in your past and really give them that understanding of a lesson learned. Because now you're receiving the blessings that come from that lesson.
Right.
So I say that to say it's a process.
For sure.
It's a process that may just take more experiences, having contrasts, and just you having an intentional practice in your life, a power path process in your life that allows you to stay centered as much as possible as you navigate the terrain of whatever it is that you want to let go in your life and you want to release, whether that's a physical habit, emotional pattern, a mental habit, whatever it is there, but just give yourself grace as you go ahead and move along your own personal path and process.
Right. Absolutely. So we had 2 more speakers, and I don't believe, are we gonna?
Well, I do like Brian, and I like what he says, because what he talks about in here is he has a Fisher analogy story where it's not even he speaks on the fact when you do fish, there's a certain way you have to pull in the fish so you don't kill the fish, because as you move up different layers, the pressure changes within the water itself. And also at the same time, when you release the fish, there's a certain way to let that go.
We can listen to.
So let's go ahead and let him explain exactly what
he starts with that.
It is. We are.
Here's Brian.
We have some time, so just sit back, get comfortable, and let's enjoy this topic.
I release that. And why is that important? Oftentimes we think about release, and I think we think about releasing all the bad stuff. Right? How many want to release all the bad stuff?
Me.
How many of you have ever considered releasing the good stuff?
I want to keep the good stuff.
Not as many hands. Before I get in and talk about release, let's just take a moment and release. How many of you walked into today with just a little bit of anxiety? I have some right now. My week has been crazy. My schedule has not been what I had planned it to be. And I didn't have the due diligence or the time, and I could give you a ton of excuses, but I just released tonight. And just am going to speak to you from my heart. And I've had many ideas, and I know these for a long time. And that's what I believe AYPN represents, is a safe space to just kind of be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
and release the preconceived notions or the ideas of this is how people expect me to show up. I can take off my mask, and it's safe to let people experience me for who I am. And I think that's the true essence of what it means to activate yourself. How many of you feel confident tonight at what you've heard and the speakers that you've heard? How many of you feel encouraged and a little bit more activated now than when you were when you first got here? Amen. So before we really get in, let's just release. I think one of the greatest exercises we can do is just take a deep breath and just release and just feel from your body, just a simple meditative exercise. Taking a deep breath and just release it. Again. Just let your body relax. One more time. Feel better on it? Now, I don't know, many of you may not know me, you may have met me in passing. You may have had the opportunity of really connecting and getting to know one another. I see a lot of familiar faces, some that I don't. If you know me well at all, there's one thing that you probably do know about me, and that is I love to fish. And if you are part of my ACA business community, I see some faces. You definitely know that because every year we have a fish fry. And we serve, I think we had 80 people or so this last couple weeks. And I partner with my church, and there's just a group of us that we just love to fish. But you know, it's important to know what kind of fish you're eating. You don't just eat every fish you catch, right? I mean, would you eat every fish? So we catch crappie and white bass and things like that. We eat the catfish, not on the menu. Bass, not on the menu. Bluegill, not on the menu. Carp, not on the menu. Gar, not on the menu. But when we go fishing, we catch more than just what we're fishing for. And isn't that how life works? Mm-hmm. We have expectations and we have goals and plans and what we want to accomplish and things that we want to do and achieve. But yet life gets in the way. And sometimes we get experiences or we have experiences or we meet people that quite honestly maybe not meet our expectations or just not really our crowd. Things get in the way. Things don't go as planned. Sometimes we catch things that we're not really expected to catch. What do you do with those things? And sometimes as I'm fishing, you know, there are rules and regulations. If I catch a crappie under 10 inches long, the law says I have to release it. If I am caught with that fish in my live well, I get a fine. I have to pay a penalty. And sometimes with certain species of fish, if it's larger than a certain size, I have to release it for conservation. Apply this to our life because sometimes we catch things that we perceive to be good, but sometimes we're putting things in our live well that are too small for us. And sometimes we catch fish that are so big that we think there's no way, I'm not qualified, I'm not good enough, I can't handle this. What am I going to do with it? And sometimes we release things that we really should embrace, and we embrace things that we really should release.
Oh man, look, what did I say? What did I say? Look, this guy just really broke it down.
Right.
Really just took it down to the floor. Drop it low, girl. And I'm saying, like, really, the whole premise of taking on things that we should release and releasing things we should embrace. I know that's been the theme in my life just recently, and it's been more around just, I mean, recently I say in the last, few years, 4 or 5 years, but it's been more of just exploration.
Mm-hmm.
And just like in a way where he's talking about him fishing and exploring the waters and taking in fish, but also using discernment on what it is that actually resonates with me and what it is that I can let go and just allow it to be.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the hardest things with a statement like what Brian just made is, how do you discern the difference? What's yours to hold on to?
Mm-hmm.
What's yours to let go of? And that's gonna take me right back to the intentional practice, that intentional commitment. Because again, we got to build that muscle memory, and those practices, that daily practice, what that consists of is different things. And some of those things are going to be, you're going to need release modalities, meditation modalities, intentional times of quietness, intentional times of moving the body, intentional times of connecting with others. Many different ways to practice so that you are in alignment with your highest self, or your connection to your belief system, aka your connection to God.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to hear him guide you clearer, and then your environment will mirror it to you. Confirmation everywhere you turn and you look, because you're practicing being present. So you'll be able to see those signs that give you peace in the decisions you make.
Okay. Well, now it's like, well, damn. If he's the boat representing the body, the water representing your intuition, you're fishing for fish, right? So now you're like you're putting your bait out there, and you're really open to, or at least you're not open, but you are open, but at the same time you're very intentional with what you want to catch.
Right.
But that doesn't mean you're going to catch exactly what you want all the time. And that's what he explains, is like sometimes you catch other fish, which can represent just different emotions from other people, or emotions from yourself, things of that nature that may come up that you weren't fishing for, but yet it's still there in your life. And now what do? Do you hold on to it and say, oh, I guess it's mine now? Or do you say, no, this is not mine, let me put it back into the water, and allow the water to deal with it?
Right.
So I think that's the biggest skill he's pointing to, is using the power of discernment to figure out exactly what is actually qualified in your life to be released right now. And what you may need to actually sit with a little bit longer before you let it go.
Exactly.
But yeah, I'm feeling it right now, honestly. I don't know how y'all are feeling sitting, listening to these talks.
AYPN ReActivate.
Look, AYPN ReActivated, because we came here just to bring this back in a different way that brings us together in different ways as well. And this is a space that we can really recreate that community online.
Our last speaker at this event, The Power of Release, was Coffee Cup Chuck, or Chuck Doyle.
Speaking of community.
Exactly. And he's now Dr. Chuck Doyle. We are grateful to have him still part of our community years later. And being a leader and a collaborator, and he'll be speaking at our last, which this will be playing after our last Speaker Series event. That's in 2 days. He'll be speaking there, but he did share very powerful testimony on this event that we're reflecting on, the power of release. And his testimony was helping his mom on her deathbed release regrets. Now that session was so powerful that we're not even going to
we're not even going to put it out there because we got to give that the whole clip. Yes. You got to watch it yourself.
Exactly.
Because we got to honor the story.
Exactly. It was extremely powerful, and just all of the things that we've seen Chuck now break through and reap in his journey because of all the work he's been putting in from way before we ever even met him. But even just since we've met him, and just since he's shared on the stage at the Power of Release, how much he's grown since then. And like I said, he's now Dr. Chuck Doyle, keeping it positive. And that's what he's all about, and it's extremely inspiring. We will definitely highlight him on our next week's event because we will be covering our last topic, I believe, in the gratitude in the November month, but it will be just from last year. Thank you. It's that simple. And he brought such a beautiful session that honored what AYPN means to him with it. So we'll definitely be touching on his session next month, but you have to go I suggest just listen to the whole event. If you got to do it in pieces, do it in pieces. But catch Chuck Doyle, Coffee Cup Chuck's session on the Power of Release on our YouTube.
Yeah, catch his session because you got to hop in there. You got to absorb the information and really just be open to the message that he brought to that stage that evening, because surely it was powerful. Every speaker on that stage spoke a gem into somebody's heart that night.
Right.
And now we're bringing this back for those gems to be recirculated because we understand that this is a time of reactivation, deeper acknowledgement of who we are and who we're not, who we're stepping into and who we have become, who we were, and being grateful for all the versions of us that got us to where we are right now and the versions of us that will get us to where we will be in the future. So go ahead and check out AYPN on YouTube, 12-hour series, The Power of Release. You'll be able to catch the full replay for free on YouTube. And thank you for checking in and sitting with us today as we dove a little deeper, and we're kind of just vibing. Nothing, it's like that's people say, I guess, with these type of circles and these type of events, we try to blend and make it more human and just trying to go deep real fast, right? Yes. That's what we're good at, is that emotional depth with AYPN. Right. Is holding that space that allows the transition to occur at your own pace. But like at the same time, we want to have fun. We want to enjoy each other's presence when we are in each other's presence.
Yes.
So we see us having, being human, just having a ball, enjoying ourselves. And we want you to enjoy yourselves too.
Yes.
We want you to see the benefits of what activation really looks like.
That's right. What
it feels like in the long-term process of it.
Right.
So this is why we're bringing it back. So we can have that full circle moment and you say, look, I did come a long way. And because of that, that means I'm strong and I'm making my way forward in the same way I made it forward in the past. So I don't know about you, but that's extremely liberating to me, Izzy.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So if you feel like that is liberating you as well right now, I want you to tap in with us. I want you to follow us on social media, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, tell your friend, go call and tell them about AYPN. Tell them, have you heard of this group called Activate Your Power Now? And if he says no, tell him, say, look, you got to go on Facebook and follow them. You got to go on YouTube and press like.
Yes.
And if he says yes, you say, damn right.
And on that note, people, stay activated till next week. Peace.